Hello and welcome back to Doubles and Trebles, where in this video we're going to take an anti-post look at British Champions Day at Ascot, the 21st of October, just under 3 weeks away. 6 races on the card, 4 Group 1s, a Group 2, which is pretty much a Group 1 in all but name, and a straight mile 20 runner handicap. Probably not going to touch on from an anti-post perspective, but something to finish off the day with on the day. First things first. Unseasonably quick ground conditions at this time of the year. We've just had the Arc. Yes, that's over in Paris. That was on good to firm. That doesn't usually happen. Newmarket on Saturday for the Cambridgeshire meeting was good to firm, pretty quick. Surely this can't last though. I mean, Champions Day this year is towards the back end of October. Sometimes it's around about the middle, but the 21st obviously getting on for the back end. Ascot usually actually race on October the 7th. And as of this morning, the going update for that meeting was straight course, good ground, and on the round course, good to soft in places. So as always, you pretty much expected to get the word soft somewhere in the description for Champions Day, but there's plenty to get stuck into. So first up, we're going to look at the long distance cup. As you can see, the current anti-post odds on screen there. As I said earlier, a Group 2, but it really should be a Group 1, really. The pattern probably doesn't allow that, given that we've just had a Group 1 stay-in race over at Paris over the weekend. But yeah, this is a Group 1 in all but name, and some names that you'll be familiar with there at the top of the market. First things first, Kyprios, a stayer that really, lit up the division in 2022, kicked Stradivarius out the way and everything, and all the talk that went with that, and it was about time that someone did take over the division, and Kyprios duly did. He cleaned up all of the top races in 22, the Ascot Gold Cup, the Goodwood Cup. Then he went and won by about 20 lengths that Cadran in Paris in October as well. We've not seen him since then, and he's been injured. He's missed most of the big Group 1s this season, all of them actually, and he only made his return at the Curragh 3 weeks ago. That was a second in the Irish Ledger. I think he went off a shade of odds on actually for that race, Kyprios. A very encouraging run, really, considering how long he'd been off. Yes, he didn't win, but yeah, he just looked at one full of promise. And according to Aidan O'Brien, the injury was pretty bad, and he was touch and go whether he would survive, never mind race again. So it's good to have Kyprios back. I do think he's an exciting stayer. I don't normally like the division, but Kyprios certainly caught my eye last year, and as he would have a lot of other people's. For some reason, after that second, a couple of suppliers pushed him out to 6-1 for this long distance cup on Champions Day, and it was always been the target thereafter. Aidan O'Brien made no secret of that. As soon as he crossed the line at the Curragh, all roads led to this race at Ascot, and God knows why he got pushed out to 6-1. I couldn't work that out why. He's now 2-1. That's more like it, more about right. He was head and shoulders above his rivals throughout the whole of 2022, and the new kids on the block this year, I don't think can get anywhere near him. Courage Mon Ami won the Gold Cup this year, hasn't done a lot since. Sweet William has been in handicaps, but did run second in the Doncaster Cup a couple of weeks ago. They've not exactly set the world alight, and I don't think anything will stop Kyprios. Eldar Eldarov was the horse that finished in front of Kyprios in the Irish St. Ledger, but he doesn't like Ascot, frankly, and that's why he's 10-1. He bombed out in this race last year. Might not even go Eldar Eldarov, to be honest, but you've got to mention Trushan. He appears to be revitalised, the old boy now. I think he's 9 or even 10 years old. In the last month or so, he's won a remarkable Group 2 at Doncaster, where he basically didn't look interested for the first mile of the race, pulled Holly Doyle to the front, and went on to win that in fine fashion in the end. So fair play for him for that. And then Trushan has gone and backed up in that Prix de Cadran at Paris Longchamp over the weekend. It was a Group 1. It was a poor Group 1. But yeah, he's done the business. So the old boy has been more than a bit quirky in 2023 before those most recent starts. But I think he's had a possible wind up. He's been ridden slightly differently. And actually, his last 2 runs have come on quicker ground. I mean, I think Trushan has been pulled out as a result of the so-called ground being too fast for him 7 times in his career. Well, his last 2 wins have come on quicker surfaces, let's put it that way. And a former winner of this race, Trushan, as well. So obviously not one to be written off. He's in there at 3-1, but I do think it's all about Kyprios. I think he will win this, and then I think he will go back and regain his title at Royal Ascot next year in the Ascot Gold Cup, and I think he'll just clean up once again. Looking at the second race on the card, the Sprint Cup, from one extreme trip to another, 2 miles down to 6 furlongs for the Champion Sprint Stakes. This is a Group 1, got upgraded to that status reasonably recently. Last year's winner, Kim Ross, is in there at 7-2 and arrives here pretty much off a similar schedule to 2022. Mopped up most of the Group 2 races here in the UK. There is not, for 7 furlong races, that is. There's not a Group 1 7 furlong race in the UK, so he has to go to Longchamp on Arc Day for the foray to go for his Group 1. He won that Group 1 last year. He did not win it this year. He was looked to be an unlucky second, and Frankie Dettori on his final ever ride at Longchamp will have been ruined how that one worked out for him. Kim Ross went off odds on for that French assignment, and he did look unlucky, to be fair. They've always said that it needs it for him to be softer ground to be effective over 6 furlongs. He is a 7 furlong specialist, and he has proven that, but you normally get soft in the description at Champions Day, and he won well in this race last year. That's why he's favourite. It's quite a big gap from Kim Ross, really, at 7-2 to as big as 10-1 for the next one in the market. That is Shaquille, who had his bubble abruptly burst in the Sprint Cup in early September, where he was last of 16. He was favourite. He was a strong favourite that day in the Haydock Sprint Cup, and he just bombed out. He was electric, Shaquille, when winning 2 Group 1s before that, the Commonwealth Cup over course and distance at Ascot, and following up in the July Cup at Newmarket. This Shaquille, I just think they put too much thought and effort into the stalls issues in the lead up to that Sprint Cup and during the race itself, to be honest. I mean, yes, he missed the kick at Ascot badly and won, and to a lesser extent at Newmarket and won both times in blistering fashion. It really was. That mid-race move at Newmarket is one of the highlights of the season so far for me from Shaquille, to be fair. But maybe that's just the way he likes to race. Maybe he likes to, obviously you're not going to deliberately miss the kick on a horse, but maybe he likes to just be out the back and pass horses, and maybe that's what he likes. I think at Haydock, you could argue he almost broke too well, and horse and jockey didn't really know what to do with him. So it'll be interesting, Shaquille. He's obviously been a really good horse this season. He's won 2 Group 1s. He's got a bit of quirks about him, but many of these top horses have. I would like him to see him return to form. Is he going to run at Ascot? I don't think he's really got any further options. He should be running if you was asking me, and it'll be good to see him bounce back. But am I backing him at 10-1? No. The one I am backing isn't even on the screen there, and it's a wild price. I do like St. Lawrence, who at the moment can be backed at 50-1. St. Lawrence has been a revelation in his first 2 starts for Archie Watson, having switched from Roger Varian. He won the Wokingham on his first start for Watson. That was over course and distance. Yes, that's a handicap, but as we know, the gap between handicaps and Group 1s and group races in the sprint division is sometimes not as wide as in other divisions over longer distances. So yeah, this St. Lawrence won the Wokingham first time up for Archie Watson in June, and then he was chucked in at a Group 1 Maurice de Guise over in France at Deauville on his next start after that, and he probably could have won on another day. Slightly unlucky in running. Holly Doyle had to switch around horses. I and a few others fancied St. Lawrence for Haydock Sprint Cup, where he was 33-1 into 12-1 in the anti-post markets on the week of the race. Then went off at 40-1 SP, and much, much bigger on the exchange, which was a wild drift. And Julie ran a stinker. Awful. Absolutely awful. There's clearly something amiss there. If you are willing to put a line through that, and it's a big if, because it was stinking at Haydock, it really was. Missed the kick slightly. One of the first off the bridle, never picked up, and just petered out really, just plodded on. If you're willing to put a line through that, and it is a big if, 50-1 is too big here for this. He's got that course and distance form. He should have won that Group 1 in France. Put it this way, if he was coming straight here from France, again, which is a big if, it definitely wouldn't be 50-1. It'll be more like a 20-1 shot. So that's St. Lawrence. And as with all of these races, really, there's a hell of a lot of entries at this stage. And we'll be waiting for the final decks to get a clearer picture on who we may or may not be backing. Next up on Champions Day, the third race is the Fillies and Mare Stakes over 1.5 miles. Again, Group 1. Always tricky anti-post, as the best fillies usually have the option of going to either this race or the Champion Stakes itself, which is over 10 furlongs on this same card. And as usual, Mr. O'Brien and Mr. Gosden have a host of runners between them. So, it's really a case of picking out who you think is going to run or not. But I think that's what makes this the most interesting anti-post market of the ones we're going to cover today, because I think it's pretty clear that the top 2 in the market aren't going to run in this race. It is 5-1 the field, to be fair. It's not like we've got an even money favourite that's not running. But Warm Heart, absolutely must have fast ground. and she won't get that at Ascot, and that is why she is very likely to be going to the Breeders' Cup. And Emily Upjohn, who won this race last year in impressive fashion for the Gosdens, is also apparently Breeders' Cup bound, but I would say Emily Upjohn slightly less likely to make the trip to America than Warm Hot, I think he's nailed on to do so. But on the assumption that that's the top two in the market out the way, there's got to be value in this market somewhere, surely. And there is some quite big price disparities, as you can see there. Free Win 10-1 best price, as low as 5 and 6 elsewhere. Time Lock 11-1 best price, as low as 8 and 7 elsewhere. So there's a bit of disparity to be had there. I'm going to come to one of those that's got a big price gap in the market. But first things first. After Emily Upjohn and Warm Heart, we're down to those that kind of, a few that ran at Arc Weekend and may or may not turn up. It's only 3 weeks later, this fixture. Sea Silk Road won a Group 1 in Longchamp. That was over 1 mile, 6 furlongs for William Haggis. And she is more than capable of dropping in trip to this 1.5 miles, but the market isn't confident of her turning up. As you can see there, Sea Silk Road is as available as big as 16-1. That probably suggests that the bookies don't think she will be running. You've also got the likes of Jackie O, who ran in the Prix de l'Opera, who ran a massive race, in my opinion, to be a close second behind Blue Rose Sen of the French star. And Aidan O'Brien is on record that saying Jackie O is a horse that could do both Paris and Ascot. So you would consider her a likely runner, given those comments and given that Jackie O ran with much credit in that Group 1. She's available as big as 16-1 there, Jackie O, and as low as 8-1, or even 6-1. William Hill, as you can see there, 16-1 with Sky Bet. I do think that Jackie O is a bet just because she ran with a lot of credit in France. She's an improving filly, and Aidan O'Brien has said that she could well run here at Ascot, so it's definitely on the cards. Others from Arc Weekend include Free Wind, who never threatened in the Arc. Mellow, the French filly, beaten easily by Sea Silk Road, to be fair. And Lumiere Rock, who was third behind Jackie O in that Prix de l'Opera, so another with a chance there. And we don't know the running plans of that trio yet. Back to the UK form, we've got Time Lock, who's in there anything between 6 and 11-1, and Sweet Memories. They both ran career bests when 1-2 in the Newmarket Group 3 Dubai Stakes at the back end of September. Both look unexposed fillies to me, and both look like they're on the up. So I wouldn't put you off either of those ones. Sweet Memories, particularly at 25-1. The race developed. Time Lock was on the near side. Sweet Memories was on the far side. So on another day, although there was certainly daylight between Time Lock and Sweet Memories, you could possibly see that gap closing when they meet again, if and when they meet again. Sweet Memories actually could end up being the Gosden's first choice, given that Emily Upjohn is looking likely to go to America. Free Wind, not certain to run, having disappointed somewhat in France over the weekend. So I certainly won't be giving up on Sweet Memories, and she's 25-1. I think that's a decent enough price. The Gosdens have won 3 of the last 7 renewals of this race, including Emily Upjohn last year. So Sweet Memories, very interesting if she turns up, and she certainly will not be 25-1 if turning up. The last one I probably should mention is this Save the Last Dance. She's not actually listed on the screen there, but she is still entered at the moment, I believe. This Save the Last Dance won the Irish Oaks from the Clouds, and would be a danger in any race with digging the ground. But I think she might be finished for the season. That's why she's not listed. So forget that one. I would be going with Sweet Memories 25-1 is a speculative one. Maybe wait for the running plans to come out. But at the moment, right now, I would definitely be looking at Jackie O, who's available as big as 16-1. On to the QE2, the mile race, Group 1 over a mile. This is often where different sexes meet and different ages meet. Paddington, for example, 3-year-old, Tahira, a 3-year-old as well. Paddington's been running in a lot of Group 1s this year. He's won 4 of them, whereas Tahira's never raced against the boys. So that'll be interesting if turning up. And I think today, this afternoon, in fact, Dermot Weld confirmed that Tahira is indeed an intended runner in this race. And I wouldn't say she's the best bet of the card, but she's certainly the horse I'll be most looking forward to hear. Just because she's going in against the opposite sex. I think that Tahira's won most 2 recent Group 1s, the Matron Stakes Irish Champions Weekend and the Coronation Stakes on the round course at Ascot in June. I thought she won both of them races with a lot up her sleeve, to be honest, easier than what the winning distance suggests. But I mean, look at this race. If all of these quoted at the top of this market were to turn up, this could be the race of the year. Paddington, Irish Guineas, St James's Palace, Eclipse, Sussex, winners all this season. Tahira, Irish Guineas, Coronation, Matron, a Group 1 at the back end of last year when she was a 2-year-old. Nashwa, Falmouth, a winner this year. Second in the Juddmonte, third in the Irish Champion. Inspiral runs this weekend, coming on the 7th of October at Newmarket. Might be going to the Breeders' Cup thereafter, but she's a 2-time Jacques Lemarrois winner. Triple time, won the Queen Anne over course and distance. And Chaldean, the forgotten horse maybe, won the English Guineas, disappointed at Royal Ascot thereafter and hasn't been seen since. So would be an interesting runner if turning up. But yeah, it's not a bad lineup, is it? The question is who will run. I wish I had all the answers to that. It looks like Paddington will run. He does have the option of an entry in the Champion Stakes as well, the next race on the card, but I think he'll probably run in this race over a mile. And Tahira, the big news is Tahira looks like she's going to be racing, and that is a really exciting clash to have there. Who would I put my money on in this stage? Probably none of them. I can see Tahira going off shorter than 4-1, to be fair, but other than Inspiral, I think most of the others will turn up, and because of the presence of the likes of Paddington and Nashwa and Chaldean, maybe, I think we're going to, whoever you fancy in this race, you're going to get a working man's price about it. There's not going to be, I can't see anyone going off even money favourite in this race, let's put it that way. And last year, Inspiral went off 10-11 for this race and pretty much disappointed. So that's a really exciting race. I'll very much be looking forward to watching Tahira and see how she gets on against the boys. On to what really is the main event of the day, the Champion Stakes, 10 furlongs, Group 1. Quite a few have double entries, some in the Fillies and Mere, some in the QE2 itself, as mentioned, but those at the top of the market do not. This Horizon Door has been all the rage since his fourth win on the bounce in a Longchamp Group 2 over the weekend just gone. He made that look as easy as you like, and a step up to Group 1 company certainly looks within his compass. Maybe not one that's familiar with UK fans, but he certainly will be familiar after this race, you'd imagine. And the French have quite a good record in this race. Al Manzour won it a few years ago. Seal Away, one that I actually backed, to be fair, won it 2 years ago. So yeah, always interesting when the French runners come over, particularly those that have not ran in the Arc, and Horizon Door was never even considered for the Arc, to be honest. So yeah, very much campaigned with this one in mind. This would be his toughest test, but like I say, he won as easy as you like over the weekend in that Group 2, and all roads lead to Ascot according to connections. Bay Bridge is an interesting runner, just for the fact that he won this last year, and I think that this is going to run again. I mean, that's very likely, but he just shouldn't have gone to Paris, Bay Bridge, for me. He doesn't stay 1.5 miles well enough, and this Ascot race is the perfect race for him. Obviously, he won it last year, but 10 furlongs, softish ground. My question is, will that failed Arc experiment be of detriment to his chances at Ascot? And the answer is, it could possibly be the case. Yeah, there's 20 days between the Arc and this race at Ascot, and you just don't know what mark that's going to leave on the Horseshoe. I'd have much preferred Bay Bridge to have come straight here. This is the race that he should have been targeting all year long. He's raced on quicker ground a couple of times this year, and it's not gone well for him. And yeah, he should have just had this target in mind. Forget the Arc. He was never going to win the Arc. A, he's probably not good enough, and B, I don't think he stays well enough. And yeah, I was really against him going to the Arc, but that's what happened, and we're going to find out if he can back up just 20 days later in this. If he's fit and rearing to go, and it's a big if, I'd be all over Bay Bridge. I think this is the perfect race for him. This might sound harsh, but King of Steel is in danger of becoming a disappointing horse. He finished second in the Derby. A lot of people said he was unlucky back there in June. He then came back to win a softish looking Group 2 at Royal Ascot. But I mean, what's he done since? Really, I'm not sure. I mean, what's his best distance anyway? I think that I think he's better. The further he goes, the better. I think 10 furlongs. He might be too big for 10 furlongs. He's an absolute brute of a horse. He looks like a 1.5 mile horse to me. But what am I to say? They kind of got lost along with Nashwa. King of Steel and Nashwa got dominated by the Aidan O'Brien battalion in the Irish Champion Stakes that August Rodin won. I don't know what to make of that form, to be honest, and it'll be interesting to see how the beaten horses that day get on, the likes of King of Steel, Nashwa, possibly in the QE2. But yeah, I don't know about King of Steel. I don't know. He probably needs to come back next year as a 4-year-old, actually, and we'll see how he gets on then. Ace winner, Arc winner, Ace Impact looks very unlikely to run. He is quoted there with a couple, but I think that's unlikely that he's going to run here. He's unbeaten now. He's an Arc winner. He's got his next career at stud boxed off surely. Mostadaf, who's in there at 9-1, and August Rodin, who's in there at a similar price. They are America bound for what could be a race of the year, the Breeders' Cup Turf, but that's probably for another video. So that leads me to one that's not even listed on the page there. Another big price one, 25-1 shot. Al Riffa would be interesting if turning up. I don't know his running plans yet, but he finished pretty close to Ace Impact when they met in Ace Impact's trial race for the Arc. Apparently Ace Impact wasn't fully fit that day, but you could say Al Riffa maybe wasn't fully fit either, coming off a break himself. He has had a disjointed career, this Al Riffa. I mean, we have to remember he won a Group 1 as a 2-year-old last year, the National Stakes at the Curragh. But because he's had an injury-hit career and he's had a few breaks away from the track, his career has become disjointed, but he is unexposed as a result of that. If Al Riffa was turning up here and he was anything like 20 or 25-1, I would probably drop a few quid on him, to be honest. I think he's very talented. I don't think we've seen the best of him yet, but it's just you can't rely on him to turn up given his injury record. Luxembourg is on your screen there at around 10-1 best price. He may well be the leading Aidan O'Brien runner, but he's likely to be that price on the day, to be honest, so I wouldn't be backing that now. Like I said earlier, if Baybridge had not ran in the Arc, I'd be all over him for this race, but it just muddies the water, the fact that he did run there, and will he be able to recover in time? I'm not too sure. In conclusion, I think Kyprios will go off shorter than 2-1. Can you advise betting Anti-Post 2-1? Possibly, but I think he'll go off shorter than that. I'll be having a speculative bet on St. Lawrence at 50-1 for the Champion Sprint Stakes, and I wouldn't put you off doing that either. You do have to keep the faith and draw a line through Haydock, but before that, he showed all sorts of signs of promise for the new Archie Watson yard. And in the Fillies and Mares, I'll probably be having two bets, and I'd happily advise those here on this video. Jackie O at 16-1. She's a lot shorter with other bookies in that one. That 16-1 is standout. She ran really well on Arc Day, and she is targeting this race according to her trainer, and I think she's a filly on the up. Also in the Fillies and Mares, Sweet Memories, I think, could end up being the John and Thady Gosden #1 choice, possibly ridden by Frankie Dettori on his last ever day at a UK racecourse. He'll be retiring after Champions Day, so he's certainly going to be on a couple with good chances. Sweet Memories could be one of those. Could be Frankie Dettori's last ever winner in the UK. So yeah, we'll see how that goes for Frankie. But yeah, Sweet Memories 25-1. I think she's a filly on the up, and I think she could have been closer on another day to Time Lock at Newmarket just a couple of weeks ago. So they're the bets that we're advising. And as always, if I'm advising the bet, I'm having the bet, and I wouldn't be daring enough to advise bets that I'm not having myself with my own money. So we're on St. Lawrence. We're going to be on Jackie O. We're going to have a go on Sweet Memories, and we're going to watch out for the price on Kyprios, because I think Kyprios will go off shorter than 2-1. But thanks for tuning in. We're back on the channel. We'll be back with more content hopefully soon. I'll try and get Pie Man out of bed and get some videos. But thanks for tuning in, and we'll speak to you soon.